Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Barbershop Love Stories, where we highlight the stories of men and get their take on dating, relationship, and love and all the things. My name is Lena West, and today my very special guest is Jameson.
Hey, Lena, thanks for having me.
Awesome. So Jameson and I are sitting so far apart because he has a restraining order on me. Isn't that what you
I
said?
don't think that's the case.
Okay, because I
Not
feel
this
like
time.
we're real far apart, but it's all good. We gonna make this shake, make this work. It's 2014. What's going on?
Well, 2014 is when I met my wife on Plenty of Fish.
Mm,
Can you believe that? Online.
I'm shocked. I'm stunned. MySpace? No.
Nah. Plenty of Fish. It was
Plenty of
all the
Fish.
rage at the time. So, her profile. It was my last day on Plenty of Fish.
Mm-hmm. You were
Logged
done.
in. I looked through some messages that I got. I was like, this is a waste of my time.
What? What was wrong with that? They were looking crazy, or what?
Nah, it was very. I don't know. It seemed like they were more interested in what I could buy,
Oh, okay.
provide, trying to
Mm-hmm.
figure out, you know, if I was spending money or not,
Mm-hmm.
that type thing. But I saw my wife's profile and it was the most basic profile I've ever seen. Like just a picture of her holding a shotgun at the shotgun range with the safety glasses on. And I'm like, I gotta find out what made her make this profile.
Right, because
It was so far from the norm.
yeah, because usually like they're gonna have like beach photos, a LinkedIn photo, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Not just regular life stuff.
Yeah, like form fitting or,
Mm-hmm.
the shortest mini skirt or, like you said, bikini type
Yeah.
stuff. That pose where they looking down and pointing their feet in, that type stuff. Nah, it was nothing like that. It was just basic photos of like her receiving some award from Georgia State.
Uh-huh.
Like, and that was, it was a good photo, but I was like, I gotta find out more. So I sent her a message, slid in
Uh-huh.
those DMs,
Okay.
and started chatting.
Okay. So then like you went on a date, like how far after that?
Um, maybe about, maybe about, um, you know what? Our first date was on my son's birthday. So I met her right before Christmas. She was actually out of town.
Uh-huh.
When she came back in town, it was my son's birthday, December 28th, and we met at Starbucks. That was
That's
our first date.
interesting. So why did you choose Starbucks as opposed to like a $200 restaurant or something extravagant?
It's plenty of fish. you should, I mean, you don't
You don't invest that much?
you don't invest that much.
Listen.
you you might be getting catfish, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So you keep it simple. You got to find out if this person is the person you're actually talking to.
Uh-huh.
And so I walk in Starbucks, she's already there, and we, order some coffee and we chit chat.
Okay.
But mind you, oh, this is a funny story. Let me tell you this story. So we'd been talking on the phone, and she was in St. Louis at the time at her uncle's house, and everybody had said, hey, she's met a new guy, this, that, and the other, and her uncle asked her, how'd you meet him? And she was like, plenty of fish. And he was like, that sex site? It's like, what you doing on that sex site? And so I happened to call her, and her uncle was around, and her uncle was like, let me talk to him. And he was like, what's your intentions for my niece?
Mm-hmm.
Then you meet her on a sex site? And I'm like, I don't think it's a sex site, but if that's what you think, my intention is to get to know her.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna tell you I ain't interested in, sex, but I will let you know that I'm chill. I'm chilling.
So you had never heard that before? Because I have a friend and he specifically says that like Plenty of Fish was like the easiest site to just smash and dash. Like there was no love, there was no relationship in that. It was just a very, very easy site for him to, do what he did
Well,
or
see,
did it.
see, I thought that was tender.
Nah, it was plenty of
It
fish.
was plenty of fish. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
So,
And then I told you the story about like I met a felon from like New Jersey, and he was talking about like can he come move in like after a week of just talking on the phone. So like I never had anything good come out of plenty of fish at all. So
mm,
I mean, you're like a unicorn sitting here, been married for 8 some years or whatever. So
yeah,
I
eight
don't know.
years.
So look, what led you up to the point where like were you like actively for real looking, or were you just trying to see what's out there?
So I think when I messaged my wife, like I said, that was the very last time I planned to send a message or log in to Plenty of Fish
Hmm.
because I was on a journey to find somebody that I would, be long term with. Wanted something serious at the time. And when I finally met her, I was all in on it. I was to the point where, yeah, I'm not going to try to juggle two and three girls at this point.
Uh huh.
I'm going to all in. And if it don't work out, then I know I gave my all.
Wow. Who were you? What type of women were you dating before that?
Mm,
And because you got married when you were around like early 30s, so like that's a lot of time. A lot of people get married 24, 25. Were you just like not ready, or you just never ran into the person that, you know, did that for you?
so you know how they say that men know,
Uh huh.
they kind of know.
Yeah.
I think men know who they're not going to marry when they meet them.
Okay.
Like, I don't think that men get convinced to marry somebody that they know that they shouldn't, or they already have decided this ain't the one to marry.
Uh huh.
Um, I think it's more or less the one that you meet that you don't decide is not the one has a chance to be the one.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't like immediately you knew this is my future. It was like, nah, I know that you're in the running.
Exactly, that
I
this
was
is a
like,
possibility.
this is a possibility.
Right.
Okay.
And that thing about, the way to a man's heart is through his stomach.
Uh huh.
My wife cooks like she was a old school like throw down in the kitchen, and I had not experienced that. Like my mom didn't even really cook like that.
Uh huh.
And so when I started dating her, and she would be like, "Oh yeah, come over for dinner. I'm cooking X Y Z. Oh yeah, why don't you come over again tonight? I'm cooking X Y Z. You know,
Oh,
why don't you come over tonight? I'm cooking this tonight." And I was like, "What? So we ain't gotta go out and eat every time we hang out? We can eat at your house, and you gonna cook?" And she never even asked me to buy some food to bring over to cook.
really?
Nah, she just had it.
Wow.
Yeah. And so when we went out on the weekends or whatever, I was like, "Get what you want, cause you fed
Yeah.
me all week."
Oh, yeah. Now, was that early on, or was
Oh
that like
yeah.
in the middle?
Oh yeah. This
Really?
was so I met my wife, like I said, December 28th.
Uh huh.
Um, and we were in a relationship by February. So we were dating, like we were seeing each other every week, almost every day.
Yeah.
And I think she probably started cooking for me like a week or so in.
Wow. Wow.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it was
That's,
the bomb.
yeah, I would say so. That's very interesting. I'm kind of, I feel some type of way because, like, right now, if you open my fridge, it's a lot of condiments, a lot of, a lot of ketchup in there.
Oh
And
yeah.
make a casserole or something. I don't know, but um, so tell me about like at what point did you propose, or did you start thinking about like proposing?
Um I proposed to my wife about a year in. I started thinking about it maybe. Nah, you know what? Actually, yeah. I started thinking about it around her birthday. So if I met her in 2014,
Mm-hmm.
we dated all of 2015. So around her birthday, around October, I started thinking about, man, I think she might be the one. Um,
Do you think that she knew that you were thinking that?
nah, I
Or
don't think so.
no? She
Mm-mm.
was just kind of going with the flow?
Yeah, she was going with the flow. Now,
Mm-hmm.
let me tell you a funny story. We almost didn't make it. And the reason why was because I was trying to hide something from her, for her birthday.
Mm-hmm.
So for her birthday, I remember she had told me that she had a dog that she that got hit by a car, and she
Okay.
was upset about that. Like she was heartbroken over that. And so I was like, I'm gonna get her a dog for her birthday. And I remember her saying she didn't want some, farm raised breeded dog. She just wants a puppy from the pound.
Okay.
And so I went and got her a
Specific?
puppy from the pound for her birthday, but I got
Uh-huh.
it like 2 days before her birthday. And I was trying to hide it. Little puppies bark all the
Right.
time. And so I'm like not answering the phone. I'm texting her instead of answering the phone. And like she came to my house on her birthday to break up with me
Oh, she was
because of that.
ready.
Oh yeah, she was upset. And she had told her best friend, "Yeah, I'm about to break up with him because he acting funny." And so I learned can't do surprises with this one. Can't do surprises. She ain't interested in that.
Nah.
So
Uh,
yeah, that was almost it.
did you like? How did that? She came up there with a letter, or she was just
Nah,
like,
nah. She
was it an
just
argument, or was it a calmly like we're through?
yeah. I think it was gonna be calm because like she just showed like she walked in the door, but the moment she walked in the door, the little dog ran over to her.
Oh,
So she was
okay,
like, and I was like, surprise, happy birthday. This is why I've been kind of trying to avoid you a
okay.
little bit, so I didn't want you to find out about your dog. And so yeah, she broke out in tears, and she didn't tell me that she was gonna break up with me that day until like years later.
Wow. So now you guys have been married. I said, I think it was 8 years. What can you tell me about what has marriage taught you about love?
Um, Marriage has taught me that love is more of a decision
Mm.
than a feeling.
Okay.
Like, I think you decide to love someone to an extent. Like, there's days when I'm not, where she makes me mad and I don't necessarily feel love.
Mhm.
And I'm sure there's days when I make her mad and she don't feel love. But the decision to not let that tear us apart, I think
Holds it
that's
together.
yeah, that's real love.
Mm.
Um,
Is that different than what you thought it was going to be?
Actually, no.
Really?
Yeah, no. I didn't think the feeling was was real.
Uh huh.
So I guess I got to go back to before I got married.
Okay.
So before I got married, um, I had some dates. You know what I mean? I dated some. I was a typical young man. I was doing my thing, but I had some homeboys that had good heads on their shoulders. So we would actually have conversations. And we would talk about different things that we like think that relationships and marriage should be.
Okay.
And so we would talk about things like the question you just asked, like what is love? Like how do you know when you're in love and all these different things? And we were like, yeah, love is a decision because yeah, I get butterflies in the beginning of the relationship, but what's making me stay in that relationship? You know? Yeah, I can feel these that honeymoon period of I just can't wait to see you. I want to talk to you all the time. Like you kind of learn that stuff dies out after a while, and then what do you have left? You know, if you get in an argument, is the relationship over in that argument, or is the relationship, is it something you still want to be in?
Right.
And so, you know, me and my friends, we would sit around and talk about that type stuff. Like we wouldn't. Sure enough, we talk sports. You know, we talk about, 304s. We talked about, what we did last weekend. It was crazy. You know, we talked about that stuff too. But at the same time, we were like, all right, so when we meet our wives, how we know it's your wife? How will we know that's the one? It's a
That's
choice.
interesting because so the behavior was like y'all were out there wilding, but inside everybody really wanted to find that one person to be with. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. Because, I mean, nobody wants to wild out forever. You can't wild out forever. Like, if you get sick, you need somebody there for you.
Oh yeah, I
You know?
agree. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, you want to have kids. You don't want to just have a bunch of random kids running around. You know, you kind of want to raise a family with somebody.
Yeah.
So it's not that I think a lot of men are just out here wilding out with no plan to ever settle down. I just think they just they keep rolling the dice until they get tired of rolling the dice. But they know at the end of rolling, at some point, it's going to be their last roll. At some point, they going to roll a 7.
There's an
and then-
expiration date. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Well, how do you keep the spark alive in your relationship if you don't always feel sparky?
I think the best way to keep the spark alive is laughter. My wife and I joke constantly. We always laughing. We go to
Yeah.
lots of comedy shows.
Uh huh.
We watch lots of comedy specials on TV. We laugh at everything all the time. So we just
Wow.
don't take it serious. We don't take anything serious.
Uh huh.
And so I think that helps with the spark because my wife is like my absolute best friend. Like
Wow.
we have a great time together. We argue, we fuss, we fight,
But that's still your friend.
Yeah, she's still my friend.
So there's some people they believe that that like your spouse cannot be your best friend.
Oh, no.
That you need to have like other people that are your best friends. So,
Now, what I will say is you can't be in a marriage on your own.
okay.
It's very hard to take your spouse, be in a marriage, and separate yourself from everybody and just let the world pass you by
Uh huh.
while you and your spouse try to go through life together. I think you need other married people. You need to spend time with other married people. You need to like go on vacations with other married
Uh-huh.
people, go out to dinner with other married people, just hang out at other married people's houses. You need a community of married people around you so that, for one, it adds a little bit of pressure to make sure you keep your marriage together when other
That's
people
an interesting thought.
are kind of invested in your marriage.
Yeah.
Other people want you to stay married. When you silo yourself off, nobody's invested in your marriage but you and your wife. But if your wife knows her friends are gonna kind of be like, I can't believe you finna get divorced. I can't believe no, you shouldn't. Don't do that. Don't do that with him.
Yeah.
Like,
Accountability.
accountability partners, right? So, yeah, I think my wife is my best friend. I have friends outside of her,
Yeah.
and it's stuff that I won't tell my wife. It's stuff that I won't, but most of that stuff is from the past. There's things I won't tell her that I would tell my other friends just to get kind of like a perspective. But I never tell my friends things that would make them dislike my wife.
Oh wow. Okay. So there's a boundary there.
Right.
Huh.
Right.
Do you tell your wife things that you think maybe are a bit too heavy, and then there's been backlash?
Oh, that's good. So, story about that. So before I got married, I actually went to therapy because I wanted to think about, I wanted to see what a therapist would say about my way of thinking.
Okay.
And so when I was in the therapy session, we kind of talked about honesty in a relationship. And I don't know if it was good or bad. I don't know if what he told me was good advice or not. But he said, you cannot be completely honest with somebody that you're in a relationship with. There's some things you do not tell people that that you're in a relationship with. You got to think about, can this person handle that
Handle the
information?
weight of that. Yeah. I was just listening to a podcast earlier today, and they were kind of talking about that. And it was more in like a friendship aspect, but just being selective on who can carry the weight of this information that I'm about to share and who can't. So I would agree with that. I would definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
I think it's
And
merciful.
right, right. And I had never thought about that before. I always thought, yeah, you tell your spouse everything or your significant other everything, and it's like, nah, man. Some things you take to the grave.
Yeah.
You don't tell her or anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And that gave me a different perspective. And just going to the therapist just kind of helped me understand that I'm not like I thought maybe because my relationships weren't working that I was doing something wrong. But, he helped me understand, nah, it's not that you're doing something wrong. You're just trying to find something that's hard to find. And I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think sometimes people think that it's a little bit easier, or if they know that they've done the work on themselves, they're like, well, why can't I attract, somebody with that has the same amount of work? It should be easy because I'm better now. I should be able to quickly attract somebody who's in the same lane of health. But it's hard. It's just hard.
Absolutely. And, one thing too that really worked out was previous relationships. So, I mean, I've dated women from all backgrounds, like white, black, Indian, Hispanic, like Asian,
Really?
all of it.
In the back of your head, were you thinking they could be possibilities of marriage? Because I've had some clients and they said, well, I've dated the rainbow, but in the back of my head, I would never commit. I would never marry this person that, I'm dating.
The only one that I can say I was like, I definitely can't marry this one is the white person.
Really?
That's the only one. Because, and the only reason I say that is because I cannot see myself walking down that aisle or this woman walking down the aisle and my mom, the look on her face would be priceless. And I was like, yeah. I mean, she was a great woman. She was very cool. We had some great experiences, but I knew maybe about 6 months in, I was like, there's no way I can marry her.
Was that the first one you dated?
No, I mean, that's the first one I had officially dated. I mean, come on, I went to Georgia Southern.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, some stuff went down at Georgia Southern, but
so relations, but
yeah,
not relationships.
You go to the Wooden Nickel and you go to Drink or Drown, and next thing you know, you
in a
swimming
situation
or drowning. You know what I'm talking about?
Okay.
You know what I mean? So yeah.
Did you tell her that, or did you just kind of ease your way out of that situation?
Yeah, we just kind of drifted apart. Yeah, I think somebody else that she was interested in came along, and she just kind of he just kind of slid in, and I exited stage left. Yeah, no hard feelings, no conversation necessary. I mean, when you go to somebody's house and you sneak up on, because she had a son, probably the same age as my oldest son, and I sneak up on him and I grab him and he's like, "Stop, Reggie," and I'm like,
"What?
Who is Reggie?"
Who is Reggie?
And then he turned around and shocked, like, "Oh, it's not Reggie." Ooh. I was like, "Yeah, I think it's time for me to exit stage left." So After that, we just never hung out again.
Yeah, I would say that's the end.
Right. That's the end right there. You don't need a you don't
And
need
scene. It's over with.
you don't need much more than that.
Hmm. What's your one of your biggest challenges in marriage, and how did you overcome?
Um
Or anything shocking that you didn't see coming in marriage?
um so I, when my wife and I were in the earlier years of marriage, there were times when I feel like I had to help her understand that I wasn't going to be um how do you say there's going to be push and pull. There's going to be give and take
Hmm.
because I was kind of like, listen, I love having financial security and I love having our nice house and cars and everything that we have, but I don't care about any of it.
Hmm.
So, if we get to the point where you make me act out of character, I will walk away and won't care what you get.
Hmm.
Because my peace of mind is more
It's more
important to
important.
me than any of this relationship slash financial material stuff. And there were times where she would do things that made me feel like this is going to cause me to act out of character.
Hmm.
And I told her, I will not be with somebody that makes me act some way that I'm going to regret later. And so over time, I think she kind of understood where I was going with that because I think she had experienced that with, some things in her youth with like her father
Hmm.
and, some of her relatives where she would egg them on, egg them on. She didn't de-escalate anything.
Yeah.
She escalates things. And I was like, listen, I'm not going to always be the one that can de-escalate. You're going to have to de-escalate too. And so in the early days, that was kind of like some of the things that we went through. Like one example of that, I guess, would be, um, and I can understand now, looking back
Mhm.
on it, why she was upset. But there was, I think, a lady who was interested in me at my dental office, and she sent my son a Christmas gift, and I was like giving it to him,
Hmm.
and she was like, "Oh, who's that from?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's a lady at my dental office. She always gets Caleb something for Christmas." And she was like, "Huh,
Huh.
okay, you need to send that back." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Why? It's just a toy." And so she was highly upset about that. And I was like, I do not understand why this bothers you that much, where you're willing to force me to act nuts to get you to calm down over this.
Hmm.
And most people would have been like, you know what, you are tripping. But me, I was like, nah, man, we in this thing. We in it. So we gonna stick in it. And that's what we did. We stayed in it. And it was just something so simple that she got so upset about that I had to calm things down. And I think in the early years, that's when things are hard. That's when things are tough.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
learning each other. You're used to being on your own. You're seeing signs of
Mhm.
exes that did you wrong in somebody that you're
Right.
with. And it's like, that might not be the case. It might not be the case. You have to hold on.
Yeah.
You
For
got to
dear
fight
life.
through it.
You really do.
Yeah.
So, did you address that with the lady at the office, or you just let it be and just handle it in house?
Um, no, I didn't send it back. I wasn't gonna do that. That's kind
Did
of
she
one of those.
did she send something the next year?
Nah, I think, I think we weren't married yet.
Oh, okay.
I want to say at this point, or maybe it was like maybe the first year or maybe the second year of marriage, and maybe she didn't. understand that she didn't think that would be an issue.
Yeah.
And
Well, I mean,
so,
if she had done it like years prior, and I mean, you
right,
probably didn't discuss your status at your dental office
right, right,
like that. So I could see that.
right. But yeah, it just, I think she actually left the dental office or
Uh
something
huh.
like that anyway. So I think it just never happened again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a tricky one. I do appreciate the fact that she was like on guard for her man. Like
Oh yeah.
that's tough right there. I like that.
Another
But
story of her being on guard.
well, this is the same woman that had the gun in the profile picture.
I know,
So
but
she, we
yeah,
should have known she wasn't playing.
something like that. But the other story. We went to the Battery for St. Patrick's Day.
Hmm.
Friend of mine from college named Pam just happened to be at the Battery,
Okay.
and my wife went to do something, and I was in line to get a drink or something. Saw Pam. Was like, "Hey, what's up, Pam? How you been? Long time no see. What you up to?
Hmm.
Just a quick conversation." My wife comes back. I'm talking to Pam. She said something. I forget the question Pam asked me. My wife put her arm around me and answered the question for me. I was like, I looked at Pam. I was like, it was nice talking to you. I guess I'll see you, take care. Have
Never
a great
again.
one. Right.
That's when I'll see you.
Right. I'm like, oh my goodness. So yeah, she's very possessive.
Okay.
Very.
That's-
So, and that was interesting to me. I was like, she is funny. This was early on.
this is early on, so she ain't quite like that anymore.
I think she's settled in. She know I ain't going nowhere.
Who says I'm sorry first?
Now women don't say I'm sorry.
No, they do. I say it. I do. If I know I'm wrong, it's
Oh,
very rare.
I ain't
But
never heard a woman say I'm sorry.
Jameson, are you serious?
Ever.
You playing?
Women don't say I'm sorry.
They do, cause
Nah,
I'm telling you, I
that's
do.
accountability. Nobody takes accountability.
Come
Come on.
on. No.
Nobody.
No. Yeah, we do.
Nothing.
I don't believe that.
All y'all say y'all do. Mm-mm.
Come on, tell the truth in this podcast, cause this is outrageous. Out of all the times, plus you dated late. I mean, you married late. That's a lot of dating history. You're saying you never not once saw anybody or had anybody say I'm sorry?
I'm going to look right in this camera.
Look.
Women do not say I'm sorry.
Yeah, come on.
I have never heard I'm sorry.
We're accountable.
Maybe, you know what? Maybe if you like, you accidentally elbow me or something, you might say I'm sorry.
Wow.
Or,
Wow.
you drop something on my foot, you might say I'm sorry. But when it comes to matters of the heart and emotions, women don't say I'm sorry. Are you kidding me?
I'm stunned. I don't even know what to say about that.
Y'all will say everything but I'm sorry.
I apologize.
Not even that.
I made
No.
an error in
No.
judgment.
No. You'll come say, you know what? You know what most of the time y'all do is we'll be laying down in the bed or something, and then you go put
You want some
something on and come put your cheeks on us. You know what I'm talking about? Come scoot up beside us with your cheeks out. That's y'all. I'm sorry. That's it.
Listen, but you take it, right?
Hey, I mean, we men. Of course we gonna take it.
All right then. And we even. You don't need to have
Hey,
those words, I'm sorry.
Hey, I guess actions do speak louder than
They
words.
do. They do. Because a lot of things can be solved by them cheeks.
Yeah.
Anywho's, how has your love evolved over time?
I think like I said, I think we just don't take things too serious anymore. We laugh a lot, have a lot of fun together. Once I think we bond a lot too over my son.
Mm-hmm.
I got a 6-year-old and I got a 16-year-old with a previous relationship. We bond a lot over that. Like I'm fighting with my 16-year-old over basketball,
Yeah.
as you know, and she kind of helps me walk through that.
Okay.
And when I get fed up, she'll take him to practice and stuff because I'm like, I get so angry.
We
But
holding grudges.
my 6-year-old, that's my boy because he plays baseball and he's the athlete of the two because he got the heart. He get upset when he strike out or when he makes a mistake. That's my boy.
Okay.
So,
What do you most admire about your wife?
mm, I admire her love for family.
Hmm.
She loves spending time with family. Every year we get together with her family for something. It's either going to be 4th of July, Christmas, Thanksgiving. It's going to be something.
Did
But
you not grow up with that? Is that why
m-
that's,
my
you
family is
know,
a lot less get together and celebrate.
uh-huh. The more
Like,
like funeral type people?
yeah, that's when we would
Yeah.
kind of get together. Or because we all lived so close together,
Mhm.
um, we would see each other all the time, like every day almost. So for like Thanksgiving or something, ever so often we would get together and, everybody come over, get a meal, sit around and chit chat. But in general, because we saw each other so often,
Uh-huh.
it was just another day for us. Her family all flies in or drives in to one of the relatives' house,
Wow,
stay there.
that says intentionality.
Right,
Like, yeah.
right. And that's part of one of the things that I like admired about her from the start
Uh-huh.
was how close her family was, and they made me feel a part of that from the jump.
Yeah.
So
It sounds like, I mean, just I feel like I may have met her maybe once or at
maybe
least
once,
saw her at the barbershop. I'm not sure, but it sounds like she's very I don't know what the word is. Like very much into the home. Like the fact that like she cooked for you. Like that was her gift almost to you. The fact that she's very interested in like the family and stuff like that. So,
I told my wife that she is Gen X. Like she's a millennial,
uh-huh.
but she has all the traits of Generation X.
Yeah.
She is an older soul
Okay.
because she does all the things in traditional gender roles.
Uh-huh.
She does cook. She does well. We have housekeepers, but she does love to clean up and
Yeah.
fold clothes and all those different things. Um, and she, her work ethic is
Uh-huh.
like a Gen Xer, not a millennial. Like she follows the rules. She's a rule follower,
Oh, okay.
and I can't get like I support her in it,
Uh-huh.
but I'm not really a rule follower to the extent that she is.
Hmm.
Um, so I truly admire her love for family, and I think that stems from being raised like a Gen Xer. She wasn't
Yeah.
raised like a millennial. Like her parents were, they raised her like they were raised,
Oh,
and
wow.
they're Gen Xers.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, she's just different.
Well, did she have siblings? And
She
do you,
has a brother that's like 13 years younger than her.
oh, okay. So there's no other sisters to see if, that trickled down to them.
Mm-mm.
No.
The brother is a whole Gen Zer or whatever is
I
after
don't
millennial,
I
all
don't
the way.
even know for sure. Um, what is being her husband? I mean, what does being a husband mean to you?
Um,
And was this something that you thought about before you got married? Like, what does it mean?
That's a good question. So I didn't. You know, one thing that's interesting is I didn't have. My parents got divorced when I was 5 years old, so I didn't have a good, what do you call it, example in the house.
Uh huh.
But I had my uncles who were married. I had relatives who were married, and so I was able to use them as example.
Uh huh.
And so from the examples I had, I just felt like being a husband is you provide for the family, you protect the family, you kind of sacrifice things that you want for the family. Um,
In your mind, does that say martyr, or is that just part of the deal? Because sometimes I hear that and it's like, yo, I would never want to be a husband. That sounds like a martyr. Like you sacrificing all the time,
you know
not
what's
getting your
funny?
needs met, and just
Nah, you know what's funny? I think the things that you want change once you become a husband.
oh, okay, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
like when you first get married or when you're first thinking about marriage, you're thinking about all the things you're gonna lose.
Hmm.
Like you're like, oh man, I'm gonna lose my freedom. You mean I gotta have the same position and
Cheeks.
same cheeks for the rest of my life? You know, you start thinking about that, and it's like, goodness. All I can say is you better make sure it's good when you put that ring on it. 'Cause before you put that ring on it, you know, I'm just saying. Um, um, you know, it's very selfish.
Mm-hmm.
You have those selfish thoughts when you first start thinking about getting married. But what I found is over time, I find enjoyment in different things. Like I love going out in the yard playing baseball with my son,
Uh huh.
playing basketball with my son. You know, as a family, going to the track and
Yeah.
racing each other.
Oh yeah.
You know, going on family vacations. One thing that I do with my 6-year-old, I told him we're gonna visit every water park we can find
Mhm.
because he loves water parks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're gonna visit every water park we can find. So all the things that I found fun back in the day,
Uh
going
huh.
to the club, going to hookah bars and picking
Yeah.
up chicks, trying to pick up chicks, you know, coming home sloppy drunk from the bar, club, all that stuff. I just replaced it with family stuff that I find even more fun now.
Wow.
Wholesome
Wow.
fun.
So if you were to tell your younger self, would you advocate for marriage, or would you be like, sow your wild oats as long as you can, and then get married when you're old and gray?
I would tell my younger self, you're going to find the one that's meant for you.
Uh huh.
Have fun before you meet her, but don't jeopardize your future relationship.
Ooh.
Enjoy yourself, but don't jeopardize the future.
Like,
But,
don't get in too deep with somebody else? Is that
well,
what you mean?
I guess I guess you have to go a little further back. Like a lot of people, when they have bad breakups or they have all these bad relationships, they don't learn anything from it.
Uh huh.
You've gotta look at those relationships and say, what can I take from this to prepare me for my wife?
Uh huh.
And I think that's something that I did well. Um, and I'm glad that I got married when I did in my 30s because I had my 20s to figure it out. What are the things that are important to me? Because you're never going to get 100% of what you want from one person.
Right.
And you've got to find the things that are important. And I figured that out through dating people that didn't work out. You know, some people look at it and all they can see is the bad stuff that happened. You got to think, okay, what did I like about this
Uh
person?
huh.
All right, they did this thing and I got to have that. That is a deal breaker. If somebody is not willing to do that for me, deal broken. Um and so I would tell my younger self to look at the failed relationships and find something in that person that you want in your future wife.
Mm.
What do you want? What did you like about that person? Because your future wife has to have these traits or you're not going to be happy. So have fun, go on dates, enjoy yourself, get to know people. But the number one thing is figure out what you want in a wife.
I like that. I like that. That also reminds me real quick, and I know we got to tie this up, but I heard somebody that said, you know, we're not going to get 100% in our spouse because then we would make them an idol. And we need, and if they become an idol, they almost become godlike. And we need to put God where he's at and
Mm-hmm.
put the spouse where they're at and not confuse the two. And I was like, I like that. I like that. Jameson, it's been great having you here. Thank you so much. I learned quite a bit, y'all. There's some stuff I did not know. About to get on Plenty of Fish right now and see what's popping. You know, see if things changed. I don't know. But make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. And hope to see y'all on another episode of Barbershop Love Stories.